What's up, Taiwan? I'm Liao with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's defense ministry has called out China for sending balloons over the country, calling the maneuvers unsafe.
经过我们的分析研判，那么近期所侦获的空飘气球，主要的目的都是以灰色地带袭扰，企图运用认知作战来影响我民心士气。
The Defense Ministry revealed earlier this week that China, which claims Taiwan, has been sending balloons over the country. The balloons fly between 10,000 and 40,000 feet, which may pose a risk to civilian aircraft. With just 1 week before Election Day, Taiwan's 3 presidential candidates are racing around the country in a last bid to draw up support. Hou You-yi of the opposition Kuomintang was in New Taipei to announce a subsidies program for young lower-income workers. The ruling Democratic Progressive Party's Lai Ching-te visited a non-profit kindergarten in the South to reaffirm his plans for better child care subsidies. And Ko-wen-ze of the Third Force Taiwan People's Party continued his motorcade campaign, saying that Taiwan needs to strike a balance between relations with China and the U.S. In Taiwan, as in all democracies, only the country's nationals can vote in an election. But as Taiwan grows in prominence on the international stage and more foreigners opt to study, work, and travel in Taiwan, our reporter Reese Ayers hits the streets of Taipei to discover the foreign perspective on Taiwan's elections.
Taiwan's elections are coming up in January. Do you have any experience or impressions about the election campaign or season?
I see a lot of campaigning going on, and I've tried to look up the different parties to understand who's doing what. And I also like to have my friends' impression on who are they going to vote for, are they going to vote, and also explain my French perspective to the situation.
Because I cannot say anything, so the Taiwan people will decide who can come to the win. So let's see. But it's this election, I feel it's very important for Taiwan. Yeah, it's going to decide many factors.
You cannot really feel that there is an election coming this January 13th. So all in all, it's very quiet. So far, it's peaceful. Back in the Philippines, when it's election time, it's really a lot of things happening.
Yeah, I've noticed the campaigning, and we've stayed with some friends and also talked a little bit about like some of the main subjects discussed back and forward. Like there are 3 now popular parties, one leaning more towards China, one towards less towards China, and then one more neutral.
Yeah, I was actually reading, I don't speak Chinese, but with a friend together we translated the election newspapers, and we've been going through all these 3 parties, the main 3 parties, and I figured it was quite interesting how their 3 different perspectives are on the China-Taiwan question or Taiwan independent question.
Well, I've been here for a while. I just feel like when the election's coming, it's a lot of bonanza. When you go on the streets, like a lot of people like, hi, everybody's being nice to you. As far as we're here living, happy and then safe and everything, that's fine with me. So I think it's up to the Taiwanese people to choose who's right for them, and then they know better.
I think it's really fascinating seeing, because I was here last year in, I believe, Hualien, and there was for the midterm elections, and just seeing the massive parades and the candidates riding in the open back Jeeps and stuff like that, which even come from America. I'm like, I kind of wish our democracy was a little more vibrant, a little more active like that.
3 years since China imposed a national security law in Hong Kong, exiled activists are rallying in Taiwan to protect its own democratic system ahead of elections. Tiffany Wong has more.
Calling on Taiwanese voters to remember Hong Kong when they head to the polls next week. These activists are traveling throughout Taiwan to spread a warning that just over 2 decades since British rule ended in Hong Kong, China has effectively taken control of the territory, which was supposed to retain its own political system, and Taiwan, which China also claims, could be next. 23-year-old student Terrence Law is one of the movement's leaders. He fled to Taipei from Hong Kong just over a year ago after being targeted by police for his involvement in student organizations.
I think nowadays Taiwan's, China's are giving so many promises to Taiwan. Like if we go, if we're united, that we unify, that the China government would give Taiwan a democracy system. But, just look at Hong Kong, China's lying.
Like Law, many pro-democracy activists fled Hong Kong after China imposed a national security law in 2020, eroding civil liberties and effectively criminalizing dissent. A number of them turned to Taiwan, where incumbent President Tsai Ing-wen said they would be offered assistance. Instead, Hong Kongers in exile said they found themselves feeling unwelcomed by Taiwan's government and its people. Residency and work permits were difficult to come by.
I think there was a real concern from the Taiwanese government, I think particularly for the DPP, about national security concerns. Especially, I think after the national security law, there was a sense that the kind of boundary between China and Hong Kong is blurring, and you couldn't kind of identify the real asylum seekers or immigrants from people from the CCP that is trying to infiltrate Taiwan.
71-year-old Hong Konger Trey Pak Tai obtained Taiwanese citizenship in 2021. A long-serving district councillor in Hong Kong, he's now running for a legislative seat in New Taipei City. He wants to keep the democratic spirit of his home territory alive and help make Taiwan a more welcoming place for Hong Kongers.
都是很诚心爱护这个台湾，他们会为台湾拼命，只是因为台湾还不太了解他们这个心态状况，都没有太多的接受，这个就也是一个好事的事情。
Though many Hong Kongers feel Taiwan may not be the friendliest place for them to live, they're determined to make it home, as they dream of a future free from Chinese influence.
We have so many chances to communicate with Taiwan citizens, and this is a very good chance to speak about Hong Kong and say about Hong Kong stories. I think if we can say Hong Kong stories, if people really understand Hong Kong stories, they can understand that China's threat is real.
And just how real that threat may be may depend on the outcome of Taiwan's elections. Patrick Chen and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
A legislative candidate has been expelled from her party after being detained for allegedly accepting money from China. Ma Zhiwei was campaigning for a district seat in Taoyuan City in northern Taiwan. Though running as an independent, she was still a member of the Taiwan People's Party. The TPP's Central Review Committee said that Ma had seriously affected her and her party's reputation. A former spokesperson for the TPP, Ma is suspected of violating the country's anti-infiltration laws by accepting over $30,000 from China in Tether, the world's most traded cryptocurrency. Taiwan's Lunar New Year holiday sees millions of people travel around the country or back home. But those plans may hit a snag this year as many of the country's transportation workers are on the verge of striking. Taiwan is coming up on the Lunar New Year, the country's biggest holiday season. During this period, people have about a week off, during which they often tend to head home, using one of the many options offered by Taiwan's comprehensive transportation network. But this Lunar New Year, several of those services may face major issues accommodating the higher number of passengers. Employee unions for the Taiwan Railway Corporation, high-speed rail, and pilots at the country's biggest international airport say they may go on strike over the holiday. The timing is no coincidence, as transportation workers tend to leverage this busy time of year to bring managers to the negotiating table. High-speed rail workers are asking for better year-end bonuses equivalent to 4 months' pay. They also want future bonuses to be proportional to company profits. The union says they're still in talks with management and have not decided to strike just yet.
1月10号是跟高铁公司有一场调解会，看到时候的调解结果。那如果失败的话，才会开始进行举办罢工投票。
Meanwhile, HSR management says they're working on getting employees record bonuses this year. Workers for the conventional rail system have circulated a petition against being forced to work overtime over Lunar New Year, while also demanding that working hours are kept in line with legal standards. Finally, Taiwan's EVA Airways pilots are demanding better pay. They're also calling on the company to do away with short-term hiring practices to fill in labor gaps, which they say create safety issues. Despite EVA announcing record bonuses and across-the-board pay raises, the pilots' union moved forward with a vote on whether they would strike. The results of the vote were supposed to be unveiled earlier this week, but have been pushed back until January 22nd to allow for more union members to vote.
非常容会员这个部分，当然，因为如果今天主管机关的态度是倾向于要求全体会员都要投票，包括这个华航、包括星宇等等其他的公司的会员，也需要去配合进行这样的一个投票。
People depend on Taiwan's transportation services to get to where they need to go over the Lunar New Year holiday. But the holiday may be just as vital as a tool for transportation workers to get the pay and work conditions they say they deserve. At least 4 people are dead in Bangladesh after a train was reportedly set on fire. Police believe the attack was intended to create panic ahead of the country's elections. Firefighters and residents worked to rescue passengers, but the flames spread quickly. The alleged arson comes amid rising tensions ahead of the country's parliamentary elections. At least 3 other people were killed in election clashes in the past month. Tesla has recalled 1.6 million of its electric cars in China. This is Tesla's largest ever recall in the country and affects the majority of cars sold there. Chinese authorities cited issues with the car's automated steering and door latch controls. Tesla announced they can update the vehicles remotely, so most customers would not need to visit a dealership. More than 2 million Tesla cars were also recalled in the U.S. last month for autopilot issues. Those recalls came after a 2-year investigation by U.S. traffic safety officials found the autopilot mode was defective. These furry fugitives are finally coming out of hiding. Harrell Hughes reports on the end of Singapore's ban on cats in the city-state's government-built houses.
This little kitty is Harley. She lives here, in Singapore with her owner. But the country's law banning cats from some apartment buildings means she is living here illegally.
So we knew that rule existed, but that it wasn't actively enforced. We understood that, and we were being responsible owners in the sense that we made sure that the girls didn't go outside.
The law prohibits cats from living in government-built housing, which nearly 2/3 of Singaporeans call home. But that hasn't stopped people from keeping their furry fugitives.
Majority of of our population live in 80% of HDB flats. Okay, so what this means is that there is probably a sizable portion of our residents that also keep pet cats. Okay, but majority of these humans, or our residents, are also very considerate.
The housing authority justifies the ban, saying cats are noisy, shed fur, and urinate in public areas. But an official survey about cat ownership says Singaporeans overwhelmingly disagree. And it looks like officials are now starting to come around.
I think the overriding most important thing is that it shows the government is listening, that many and thousands have spoken up. Government has looked into this policy and is finally reviewing and making some changes. And it shows that if we all speak up, things can happen.
The new rules would allow for up to 2 cats per household. Mesh screens must be installed on windows, and cats need to be licensed and microchipped, which means cats like Harley can finally come out of hiding. Kamashu and Harrell Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we leave you with images of the winter wonderland in China's northeastern city of Harbin. I'm Liao. Take care and see you next time.